If you're like me, you felt sometime in your life that you're not good enough, or you don't deserve success, or when something good happens, you constantly start doubting it, that people are going to find out you're not actually that good or you don't deserve something. And I'll tell you, this is how I've lived most of my life because I believe that I did not deserve the success other people got. I was not as talented, not as experienced. I was even self-conscious about my own looks because I grew up borderline anorexic. I was very skinny. I had these messed up teeth. I had a crooked nose. And my self-esteem was so low that even little John would be proud. But all that changed with one single sentence. One single sentence. Let me take you back. Let me take you back 8 years ago. I was just starting off with coaching people on public speaking and communication. This was really early on. I just launched my business. And whenever you launch a business, things are hard. It was very hard for me to get any experience training people. I hadn't really coached a whole lot of people. I wasn't making any money and I couldn't find a date to save my life. But one day, as luck would have it, someone I knew from college who had seen me do some workshops, they reached out and they messaged me. They said, "Hey Yasser, I have a VP that I know who could use some public speaking support. I'm going to send him your way. Hopefully you can help him." Exciting, right? This is what I've been waiting for. Or so you would think. Truth be told, I was very, very afraid. I was terrified because I was thinking, a VP? I've never worked with a VP before. What the heck can I teach a VP? I don't have that experience. I'm not good enough at this level. Should I just turn it down? Should I just say no? I probably should say no, right? But I'm broke. I need the money. It has to come from somewhere. What do I do? What do I do? And I'm just going in these infinite loops. And little did I know that in that moment, what I was experiencing was the phenomenon known as imposter syndrome. Have you heard of this before? Imposter syndrome? This is the feeling that you're a fraud, you're not good enough, you don't deserve success, that people will find out that you're not as good as you think you are. When you do that presentation, people will find out you're actually terrible and you don't know what you're talking about. Have you had that feeling before? I know I've had that feeling many, many times. So I was thinking about this. Should I go ahead with it? Should I work with this person? I kept thinking about it for days, but eventually my poverty prevailed and I said, yes, I need the money. Let's do it. So fast forward to a few days later, I hop on a first coaching call with this VP. Let's just call him Sam for the sake of confidentiality. And Sam says, "Hey Yasser, I just need some help with my public speaking. I want to sound more assertive. I want to make sure that my team can trust me. How can I sound more confident and authoritative when I speak? That's my goal. Can you help me with that?" And I said, "Well, crap, don't ask me. I'm just guessing out here. But sure, let me throw some spaghetti at the wall. Hopefully something sticks and I can help you." So I took the leap of faith. I decided, okay, let's see what I can do. So I started him off with some practice questions. Now, I usually do what I do with my clients. I toss some random questions at them and I just see how they respond, what their speaking style is like, what they get stuck at, where they do well, and then I go from there. So I asked them some questions like, what's something you're really proud of? What's something you want to improve about yourself as a leader? What's something you're planning on implementing to improve your team's performance? Like, all these questions that would get them thinking, but they were all asked on the spot with nothing prepared. Now, when Sam was answering these questions, I began to notice something. I began to notice a pattern. And that pattern was that a lot of his answers, they didn't sound believable. It sounded like he was making them up. And at the time, I'm talking to a VP, I'm really afraid that I might say something wrong. And quite frankly, I didn't have the skill set to help him, so I just let my curiosity get the better of me and I asked, "Hey, I'm curious, is this really what you were going to do when it comes to improving your team's performance?" To which Sam said, "Oh God, no, I'm just making it up." Again, I didn't quite know how to help him, so I just asked, "Okay, I'm curious, how come you didn't just say you don't know instead of making it up?" And Sam looked around the room for a second, and then he said, "Well, I can't say that. People will think I'm stupid. I'm a leader. I'm supposed to know things." Once again, I was so confused as to how I should even help him. I said, "Okay, that's interesting. I'm wondering, do you think it's better to say you don't know when you don't know something? Or is it better to pretend you know something and give incorrect information at the risk of losing trust with your team?" 10 seconds passed. 20 seconds passed. 30 seconds passed. Sam was completely quiet. He did not say a word. What is happening? I'm losing my mind, wondering if I said something wrong, and the entire time I'm just thinking, see, you have no idea what you're talking about. I told you have no place coaching VPs. Are you crazy? You should have just kept your mouth shut. Why are you here? Blah, 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 blah. My mind just starts going crazy. But then Sam finally looks at me and he says, you know, Yasser, it's interesting you say that. A few months ago, I was talking to my therapist and she was asking me about my childhood. And I was telling her that when I was young, my parents were very strict. They expected me to give them a yes or no answer. When I went to school, the teacher would make fun of me if I didn't have an answer. So I wanted to be safe from being scolded at home and being embarrassed at school. So I trained myself to always have something to say, to always have an answer. But after thinking about the question you just asked me, I think my childhood trained me to have an answer, but unfortunately I have an answer even though it's wrong. And looking back at it now, there have been many times where I've had to pretend to know the answer at work to protect myself and to protect my ego. But I know there are people on my team who know I'm not telling the truth, who no longer trust me as much, or worse, they learn from my behavior and they do the exact same thing where they pretend to know when they don't know, and then everyone's just trying to play a character, everyone's just trying to lie to each other, and there is no clear communication. So Yasser, I wanted to thank you because you've given me a lot to think about. Let's do this exercise again. This time, I won't make up the answers. I was honestly so stunned by his response, I didn't quite know what to say. So I just panicked and I blurted out, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I hit a sensitive topic there. I didn't know how to tackle the situation. I'm just trying to figure this out. And then Sam just stopped me right there in my tracks. And he said, Yasser, it's okay. Listen, I know you're new to this space. I know you're new to this coaching situation. You might not have decades of experience. You might not know me like my therapist. And you might not have been a VP before. But you gave me something no one else could have given me. And in that moment, I'm thinking, oh, what is it? What is that thing? And then he said something to me that I will never forget. He just smiled and he said, Yasser, you gave me your honest perspective because your perspective is your superpower. I'll say that again. Your perspective is your superpower. That last sentence absolutely changed my life. I thought what he wanted was experience, my expertise, my unique methodology, my unbelievable confidence in the call. I thought that's what was important, but I was wrong. Sam taught me in that moment that what benefited him the most was my unique perspective on his situation, because everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has unique ideas. And that is the day my imposter syndrome completely left my body. I have never, ever thought about myself as not enough since that day, because we all have something that no one else has, and that is perspective. No matter how inexperienced you are, your perspective has the power to change someone's life, even if it's a small idea, just because it's unique and it is yours. And since hearing that message, I've had countless organizations reach out to me for training, some of them Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and I used to be terrified. Oh my God, how am I going to coach these people? But then I said yes, because I knew that it's my perspective that they're looking for. That's why they reached out to me. I have CEOs and founders of some billion-dollar brands who reach out for public speaking coaching, and if I hadn't met Sam, my imposter syndrome would have jumped in and said, nope, you're not ready for this. You can't do this. You're not qualified. Immediately shut down fruitful opportunities. But thankfully, Sam's advice completely changed my life, and I know it can change yours as well. So the next time you feel like you're not good enough, you don't have enough experience, you don't deserve love or success, remember this. Only you determine your worth. You don't need any external validation to feel good about yourself. And as Sam once told me, your perspective is your superpower. Remember that. Your perspective is your superpower. I want to share two more things with you that will help you with this. And these two are slightly more controversial, but I'm going to share them anyway because if I'm going to teach public speaking, I might as well exercise my right to share my opinion publicly as well. If you are experiencing imposter syndrome, meaning if you are having doubts about your ability to do something, that in itself is an indication that you are more ambitious than other people. I'll say that again. If you are experiencing imposter syndrome or you feel like you're not good enough, that in itself is an indication that you are ambitious. Because think about it like this. If you were not ambitious, if you were not concerned about doing a good job, if you were not concerned about providing value, would you spend any time worrying about doing a good job? Would you spend any time thinking, am I good enough? Am I the right person for that? You wouldn't. But the fact that whatever you're taking, maybe it's a new job for you, maybe you've been asked to do a presentation, maybe you're coaching someone, maybe you are getting promoted, and all of these things are coming up in your head. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm not a good public speaker, blah, 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 blah. Because these thoughts are happening in your head, it means you are aware. It means you are thinking about putting your best foot forward. That means you already have what it takes. You already have what it takes to be amazing. Now, I'll tell you one more thing. There is a book by the name of Positive Intelligence. Positive Intelligence by Shirzad. I forget his last name. It's somewhere in my bookshelf here. But he had a training on YouTube that I watched where he would send out an anonymous survey to CEOs and leaders, and he would ask them to write down their biggest fear. He would ask them to write down, what are you scared of? And he would read out all of these notes, of course, anonymously. He would not mention their names. He would read them out and share it with other people. And all of them were these CEOs afraid that they're going to get found out, that someone's going to find out they're not very good, that someone's going to find out they're not leading their team as well, that someone's going to find out their employees don't respect them, that someone's going to find out they're just pretending to have everything under control, that someone's going to find out they're not the best CEO. All of those insecurities. So I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm just a junior employee, that's why I don't feel good enough. When I get promoted, I'll feel better. No. There are people at the very top who feel just as much imposter syndrome, if not more. Because now when they're in a higher up position, there is more pressure to perform. There is more pressure to do well. There are more people you are leading. There are more people who look up to you. And now there's more pressure to do well. And now you're also at the top comparing yourself to everybody else who's at the top. So guess what happens? Your mind starts going in circles thinking, are you good enough? Are you good enough? Are you good enough? And that creates infinite thoughts in your head around whether you're good enough. So even though you can be the most successful person in the world, having thoughts, having doubts around your abilities, it's normal. It is not out of the ordinary. So if you're thinking about this, just know you're ahead of the curve. And my last unpopular opinion. Many people that I have engaged with, that I have met, that I have interviewed, I have heard their stories about the people that they work with in big organizations. You're talking about your Amazons, your Metas, your Googles, Fortune 100 companies. And I will tell you, most of the people that you are around are mediocre. Most of the people that you will meet in the world, by an average, are not going to be remarkable people. And I'll tell you something else. A lot of people that you will meet who are ahead of you, who are making more money than you, who are in a more senior position than you, they are probably not skilled more than you. They're probably not even more confident than you, but they're in that position. Think about it like this. How many people do you know who you would say do a worse job than you at your job or at a skill set, but they are in a higher position? Or they get paid more. I can name dozens right off the top of my head. Why does it happen? It happens because maybe they don't have any limitations in their own beliefs, but also they took advantage of the opportunities that came their way. They said yes. So if there are mediocre people in high level positions that you do an average job and you're an exceptional individual who's very talented and very skilled, then you certainly deserve what they have and arguably better than what they have. So I look at people around me who I don't consider to be very talented. And there's a lot of celebrities that I'll see, and I'm just thinking, how did you get famous? Why are you famous? Why, why do so many people follow you? Why do you earn millions of dollars a month when there's no talent? And of course, I'm sure they have some talent or they have a team or somebody. But just by the law of averages, I believe that most people are not exceptional. Most people are not ambitious. Most people are not waking up every single day wondering, how can I improve? How can I become a better contributor to society? I feel like most people just live life on the back burner. And again, that's not you. But if the bar is so low, and there's so many people who are painfully mediocre, who have happy lives, who make a lot of money, and if they deserve it, then so can you. And I'm not here saying people don't deserve it. I'm just saying you can be less skilled, less talented, and still get a lot of money. You can not be very skilled and still get a promotion. You can not be very skilled and still be a VP. How many times have you seen a terrible teacher in school or at university who bored the crap out of you? Sure, on paper they're very qualified, but they don't have a lot of talent when it comes to teaching. Similarly, how many times have you seen a manager or a boss lead a meeting that you can't stand? Or they have no social skills. They have no idea how to run a meeting. Or how many times have you met someone who doesn't even know how to send an email? Or doesn't know how to CC or BCC, right? I can tell you, I've met a lot of those people. Surely you can send an email yourself. So there's a lot of people who aren't very good, who are in great financial situations, who have found great success in their personal and business lives. If they can find it, then so can you. So I'll leave you with 3 things to think about. The first thing is, your perspective is your superpower. Remember that. Doesn't really matter how much experience someone else has more than you, but if you can add unique perspective, you can add something nobody else has, gives you a competitive advantage. Number 2, if you were thinking about the fact that you might have imposter syndrome, you're probably ahead of most people who don't even think about it. Like, imagine someone really sucks at their job and they never even think about the fact that they suck at their job. They're not going to get better anytime soon. So if you're good at your job and you're concerned, hey, I could be better, I'm not achieving my full potential, it's bothering me, guess what? When you look at some of the most successful athletes in the world, they have that quality as well. So that's a good thing. Just the very fact that you're worried about this means that you are a top performer. And lastly, look at people around you, even people in your company, people in your friend circle, people that you might know who on paper are not very impressive, whose experience is not very impressive, whose personal characteristics might not be very impressive. And they still get some sort of success, whether they're happy in their life, whether they're successful financially, maybe they have a good marriage, maybe they're just really content where they are. Just because you are someone who's very hardworking and you keep doubting yourself doesn't mean you don't deserve it. So if everyone is mediocre or the average person is mediocre and they can still achieve success, you as a high performer certainly do not need to doubt yourself, okay? So I'm going to leave you with these 3 things. Now, if you are someone who wants to improve your social skills, become a better public speaker, feel more confident about yourself, if you're not already on freespeakingtips.com, that's where I send all of my free training. Every single week I send a course or a newsletter with detailed information. That's freespeakingtips.com, and it's exactly what the website says. You get free speaking tips, and then you also get my 10-day speaking course, where once you join, every single day I'm going to give you one thing to practice, and in 10 days you will see a remarkable difference in your public speaking. So go check that out. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.